The Muses took the top spot in the Overcoming Obstacles category, where it shares the honors with the Franklin and the Eleanor in Bridgeport, Connecticut. The Muses Apartments is a remarkable story of how effective partnerships can overcome obstacles at every stage of a development. The parties to this transaction included an out-of-town private developer, Kentucky-based LDG Development, and a local nonprofit developer, Gulf Coast Housing Partnership. It also included City Hall, the State Housing Finance Agency, one neighborhood that supported the development, and another that opposed it, and a city councilwoman caught between the two neighborhoods in her district. Long story shortened, LDG Development received a GO Zone Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Award in December 2006. Zoning was in place to build a 230-unit mixed-income apartment complex in eastern New Orleans, an area heavily damaged by 2 hurricanes. 10 months later, a city councilwoman secured approval for a zoning overlay that subjected all new multifamily development to conditional use review and approval. As a consequence, a frantic 2-day hunt for a new site followed, and a new location was identified. But the new location had been placed under contract the day before by Gulf Coast. Within a week, LDG and Gulf Coast struck a deal, and the Louisiana Housing Finance Agency transferred LDG's low-income housing tax credits to the new site. But the developer's request to build was denied, despite efforts to have everything in place. The reasons? Density, design, and parking. Appeals followed. Opponents expressed their concerns. Angry remarks were exchanged. The city councilwoman of the 2 neighborhoods threw her strong support behind the project. A grassroots advocacy effort was undertaken, and the Muses eventually secured city council approval. However, the equity markets were uncooperative. The challenge of securing a willing investor at that time was not unique to this project or to New Orleans, but the interplay between a hurricane season forecast and the place-in-service deadline for GO Zone credits was. Ultimately, the developers sold the credits for just enough equity to place the project in service by the deadline. The City of New Orleans pitched in a home funds bridge loan, and then the $49.9 million 236-unit mixed-income project closed on May 29, 2009. That fall, developers closed with a third-party investor that purchased the tax credits at a higher price. Well done, and congratulations to the Muses Apartments and its development team for bringing new investment and helping to transform a re-emerging Central City, New Orleans. Our second winner in the Overcoming Obstacles category faced exceptional challenges of its own that included blighted conditions, the financing of 2 separate projects and their legal structurings, and a design to transform the buildings from a hospital to a housing use. Transforming Bridgeport, Connecticut's long vacant Park City Hospital into the Franklin and the Eleanor Apartments, 110 housing units with extensive on-site services for extremely low-income tenants, took an army of supporters and a small miracle or two. The hospital, which closed in 1993, sat empty before the Housing Authority of the City of Bridgeport purchased the building in 1999. Plans were to develop a large, multi-purpose facility that would include approximately 130 units for senior housing, as well as other uses. That project foundered and was unable to secure the financing it needed. The Housing Authority's request for proposals in 2006 resulted in the project being awarded to the Women's Institute for Housing and Economic Development, which assembled the financing necessary to transform a hulking neighborhood eyesore into an attractive, functional, and high-quality senior and supportive housing complex that would provide stability for residents. The Institute, a local nonprofit organization dedicated to providing affordable housing with supportive services, arranged approximately $33 million in creative financing and brought together a group of experienced, Bridgeport-based professionals to accomplish this overwhelming task. The project was completed on time and within a limited budget, while overcoming many unforeseen existing conditions. Congratulations to the Women's Institute for creating opportunities for dignity, self-determination, and greater community within the walls of its new buildings. Sharing the spotlight for honorable mention in the Overcoming Obstacles category are Christenson RD Portfolio Phase 1 of Palmer and Kodiak, Alaska, and Rohlffs Manor in Napa, California. The Christenson RD Portfolio Phase 1 was Allied Pacific Development's first attempt to develop affordable housing in Alaska. It began with a competitive 9% application in November of 2008 for 2009 low-income housing tax credits, which was not an easy time to sell 9% low-income housing tax credits for the acquisition and rehabilitation of 128 units on 4 scattered site rental properties. Additionally, 2 of the 4 properties were in foreclosure, and the remaining 2 were at risk of being converted from affordable to market rate. The project had even more significant market obstacles to overcome, including the fact that the project developer, investor, and syndicator had no prior experience in Alaska. And the project involved approximately 15% of the total units operated in Alaska through the USDA RD Section 515 program. The $19.22 million project, with 3 properties in Palmer and Kodiak, successfully closed in early October and became one of the first 10 TCAP projects in the country to receive a disbursement of funds. In addition, the project accomplished Alaska Housing Finance Corporation's goal of preserving and rehabilitating almost 15% of the entire stock of 854 USDA RD Section 515 units. Additionally, one of the renovations, for Terrace, represented the first ever low-income housing tax credit development for the Kodiak Island community. Rohlffs Manor Senior Housing is a 355-unit, multi-level care senior affordable housing community in Napa, California. It was acquired and rehabilitated with low-income housing tax credit financing over several years. One of the project's major complications was transitioning 98 units from a licensed assisted living facility with state regulations dictating service and staffing requirements to an aging-in-place model that would allow senior residents to stay in their homes. In addition to the operational issues, financing presented another challenge. Rohlffs Manor had been built as 3 separate facilities with different regulatory restrictions and financing. Original financing included a HUD Section 202 loan for the 100 units in Phase 1, built in 1968, a HUD Section 236 loan for the 46 units of Phase 2, built in 1975, and low-income housing tax credits, taxes and bonds, and state and local loans for Phase 3's 213 units, built in 1992. The plan was to combine all 3 projects into one, but that was not to be. State and federal agencies had other ideas. Additionally, the transaction that was scheduled to close in August 2008 was nearly derailed by the 2008 credit meltdown. When the original tax credit investor backed out in late 2008, in stepped Union Bank, which had agreed to provide the debt and now agreed to purchase the tax credits. Finally, EAH, with the cooperation of Union Bank, the Housing Authority, and the state's Community Development Department, which approved the assumption of existing loan in Phase 3 and modification of its regulatory agreement, and eventually HUD, which approved the assumption of the 202 loan rather than a payoff, they were able to close the transaction on March 12, 2009, one day before the deadline. Congratulations to Christenson RD Portfolio and Rohlffs Manor, and a big thank you for your dedication to overcoming the project's many hurdles.